Welcome everybody to a video first for me, which is Darktide Revisited. Now, as you probably know, I'm not normally one to revisit games here on the channel, outside of full Let's Plays of course, as I'd rather just talk about something new or nostalgic instead. But Darktide is kind of a special case, you see. Partially, it's because I'm a huge fan of the IP, and have been getting back into painting the models for a big project that I'm hoping to share with you all later in the year. And the other half of it is, there have been some huge updates to Darktide since we last left off, way back in January of 2023. So, here we are again in 2024, and with some absolute banger updates under our belts, why not re-talk about it? I don't think that's a word. Why not re-look at it? But first, I think it's fair to bring up the flaws I initially had with the game in our first video. If you remember, I did really like this game. In fact, I'd go so far as to say that this game is up there in the pantheon of best Warhammer 40k games, with Space Marine and Dawn of War. The soundtrack is a banger, the gameplay is solid, but there are a couple of things that I felt really could use improving. Firstly, it's that the game itself lacked much of a story. There were nuggets of a narrative in place here and there, but the reveal of the traitor upon reaching level 30 felt pretty weak, honestly. From a universe as deep and lore-heavy as 40k, I feel like they could have done much better here. My second gripe was with the feats progression system, being, well, very two-dimensional. They were good to have, of course, but there was little in terms of true customization. Mostly it was just number shifting here and there, which was pretty lame, to be honest. And the final main issue I had was the game had very few actual unique levels, which did mean that leveling up multiple characters would feel kinda like a repetitive slog. In fact, even leveling one character at the time was kind of a grind. However, since I first leveled those complaints, there have been multiple major updates. I've maxed each class and just overall gotten a lot better at the game itself.
That's so very sad.
I see a lot of people still asking if this game is worth it. Previously, if you recall, I had said while I felt it was a great game from a 40k fan's perspective, I'd still probably recommend holding out for a Steam sale if you were kinda anything but a diehard fan. So, without further recapping or delays, let's jump into it.
Listen, 1, start!
Darktide's story remains, well, mostly the same, honestly. There's a traitor in the Morningstar, yada yada yada, for the Emperor, you get the gist. But there have been some improvements. For one, there have been a lot more cutscenes added to the game for introducing areas of the Morningstar and certain events and missions. Which is nice, honestly. They hope you feel a little more engrossed in the plight of your fellow rejects and understanding more of the goings-on within the Morningstar. Couple that with a bunch of new dialogue, and with the recent major 3-part update, the Traitor Curse, we actually have a bit of movement with what's been happening with the Mobians and the Rebellion. In the recent special assignment against the Karnak twins, we got a lot of fun build-up, and even a unique cutscene mid-mission before squaring off against these new unique bosses.
Don't they look desperate, brother? If only we could make this last.
You never changed, sister. Still playing with your food.
There's no flavour without sport.
Absolute gold star here. I'll put it right on the Imperium refrigerator. Is it enough to change my thoughts on the story? Well, no, it's not. But it is a start, an engrossing enough one to reel me in, and a lot of players back into Darktide. Alright, and next we have the perk system. Now, if you recall, the previous feats system really kinda sucked, to be honest. Like, it got the job done, and you could even argue, well, does a Left 4 Dead style game even need a system like this? To which I would answer, yes. Now, stop interrupting. But this system has just been yeeted out of the airlock of the Morningstar, and in place for a much, much better talent tree system. October 4th brought the major class overhaul and talent tree update to the game, and with it, it really revitalized this game in a huge way.
Whoa! Wait a minute! Oh my god, these ratings!
New skill options, new aura options, new blitz options, builds and playstyles, everything was massively improved upon. Some classes that just never interested me before, honestly, suddenly became way more inviting. This was the point I picked the game back up again and got hard stuck into leveling up all 3 of my remaining operatives to 30. And you know, I actually enjoyed every step of the way.
Objection!
Every level giving you a talent point gave you freedom to further refine your build, making every level actually feel good to reach. The new skills were all super interesting and fun to experiment with. Plus, we got... Raw. I mean, how can I call this anything other than a perfect update? There was a huge shift in player power, and honestly, the player base ballooned out from this one update, and has not died down since. This is exactly what Darktide needed, a way to make people's builds feel more unique, more powerful. You want to build a super tanky zealot? Or maybe a gunner Ogren? You can do it now. You want to build a more Katachan-style assassin veteran with ambush and stealth-style gameplay? You can do it now. You want to live out your Emperor Palpatine fantasies as a psyker and just Tesla coil the shit out of all the heretics? Well, you can do that now.
Jesus Christ!
Everybody's blitz skills, primary skills, and auras all had new interchangeable options. And I was here for it. If you were to ask me now, just based on this one update alone, is this game worth buying? I would absolutely tell you yes. And we still have a lot more to talk about. My only gripe, and I promise it is a small one, is that it would have been really nice to see them nudge a little more on the level cap here. Maybe pushing things out to 40 to give us even more points to experiment with. And hell, while we're on the topic, maybe bring in some new classes to even further spice up the mix. Like, imagine a tech priest-style support character who can deploy turrets, hack terminals, and doors faster. That could be really cool. Or adding a rattling sniper. The characters sometimes mention them while you're playing through missions.
Sniper's what we need! None better than a rattling!
Very tiny, though. Fit in pockets.
Lock your valuables up when rattlings are around's all I say.
I honestly would love to see these little gun-toting hobbits in my lobby. Oh, 1 second. Hello? Oh, the Tolkien estate. Okay, understandable. I will cut that joke. Now, moving on. Still on the topic of customization, I want to talk briefly about improvements to your weapon refinements. Weapon power can be a little messy to explain, but essentially each weapon will have 6 base stats, which have a percentage varying anywhere up to 80%. Then they have up to 2 perks, which can be ranked anywhere from 1 to 4. And finally, a weapon will have up to 2 blessings, which again can be ranked anywhere from 1 to 4. The combined total will equate to how strong your weapon is. Now, when this game first released, improving a weapon was messy. Firstly, if you wanted to improve a weapon perk, you essentially just had to keep paying resources to re-roll the perk until you got something you wanted. And this was extremely draining, both on resources and time. And initially, you couldn't even change the blessing on a weapon itself. The feature just wasn't implemented yet. So, has it improved since then?
Kinda.
You no longer need to roll for your perk improvements, instead just getting to select them off of a list, which is so much better. The blessing system is now working, which means you can surrender weapons to essentially harness the blessing from that weapon and slap it on another. It's still kind of far from perfect though, and when you start to get really deep into wanting to craft the perfect shovel, it's a major time sink. But it's at least better than it was. Now, if we could just get a diamantine to plasteel exchange or vice versa,
That would be great. Okay.
Initially, when this game dropped, we had a total of 7 different levels. Which, look, you are absolutely going to see all of these 10,000 times over before you hit 30 on your first character. Which I think is a very valid criticism. However, with all the new updates made to Darktide since its initial release, we're currently sitting at 17 total missions. 10 more than were initially packaged. We also have new consumables, new weapon models, and some new enemies and bosses, who could even invade your missions at a time, which was pretty cool, honestly. Though I don't think this feature is still around since the special assignment is rolled out. And this is another marked improvement. New missions are always going to help alleviate the tedium of any kind of game. And while I'd still like to see more, we're in a good place right now. What I would truly hope to see is for Fat Shark to not rest on its laurels now, and instead push for even more stages. I mean, we are in an underhive. Why not throw us into the middle of some ganger conflicts? We've seen a lot of vehicles within stages that hint at a possible Gene Stealer cult. You know, give us that! Ratting at a Gene Stealer cult and throwing down with their patriarch would be absolutely amazing. And even in the ranks of Chaos, which we're already fighting, we could still see more units like Plague Marines, Blight Drones, and look, I know I'm gonna sound like a stuck record, but could we just please have little Nurglings running around doing things? That would warm my heart. Also, with the new addition of stims, you can now terrorize your public elevators by doing this. Look at that.
This is terrible.
Do with this information as you will. I would like to spend a bit of time talking about the most recently added string of missions, because honestly each one is a really great experience, and if you play them in order, does actually tell a great little narrative experience without needing a big info dump. Firstly, we have the first and second parts of exploring the new area, the Carnival. Initially traversing through this new area on a mission to secure the trader's new stim stash, culminating in an awesome final fight in this huge Colosseum-style arena, before getting them picked up and secured on the Morningstar for analysis. Then, on the second mission, we strike at the production lab for these stims to cut off supply to the traders. Our actions here leading to the current special assignment to square off against the Karnak twins. And those two are awesome. One is a long-range damage dealer who throws tox bombs to try and zone you and your squad out, while the other just runs at you screaming with her power weapon. Sometimes one of these two bosses could invade your mission leading up to this event. However, now we're fighting them both at the same time, and it's a really fun little gauntlet. There are even some unique rewards for beating these two on tiers 1 to 4, tier 5, and an exclusive reward for a tier 5 hard mode, which is a secret challenge that will really put your skills to the test. Hell, me and my friends have only just beaten the tier 5 boss fights, and we honestly got pasted against the hard mode fight. I love this fight because it will actually encourage communication and adjusting your builds to really up your chances of winning. You won't be able to just mindlessly shoot these two down like you can most other fights in Darktide. You need to have a strategy and plan going into this. And honestly, I would love for Fat Shark to add more fights like this. Please continue this trend. Warhammer 40k Darktide is in a really good place right now. We've had some stellar updates that have really made this game so much better than what we got initially out of the gate. If you've been holding out sheepishly to give this game a try, I implore you to give it a look at. If you initially played this game, but have since uninstalled it,
I implore you to reconsider.
It's a ton of fun with friends, with music that'll have you pumped to put down the enemies of the Imperium. And just like my last Darktide video, I have once again hidden a CD key for the game within this very video. If you missed out the first time we did this, well, here's another chance to snag this game again for free. Just keep your eyes peeled throughout this video for the 3 segments of the key. Write them down, punch them into Steam, and wham! You just got conscripted, bitch! Looking forward to seeing you amongst the fellow rejects aboard the Morningstar. Until next time, my fellow mutants and hang on, wrong script. My fellow loyalists and lapdogs to the Emperor, take care of yourselves.